Hi everyone, Neil Snape, and I'm glad to have you back to share a video on how to edit an outdoor model portfolio picture. And this one's going to be quite simple, so let's get right into it. The image here is straight out of the camera. I just want to check to make sure that the lens correction was applied, and it was. So we'll go back up to the basic column, and as usual, always in Lightroom, we're always going to start at the top panel and go down through each module. Now this image doesn't really need much. It was done on purpose that it have a lot of backlighting in there and add some color. There is a reflector. I imagine it was on the gold side that was handheld on this side of the model, on the left side of the model. The sky is a little bit bright. The rest is looking pretty good as is. What can we do to improve this? Well, let's add a vignette, maybe add a little bit more blue back into the sky and change some things. And one of the things you can do is you can click on auto, and you'll see that it changes all the numbers in tone as well as presence. It's a little bit extreme. You could add back into the blacks because it tries to take down all of the exposure and bring the sky into some acceptable limits. And yet the sky itself, it should be quite clear, so you can see how much it pulled down the highlights and even overall exposure. So let's double click on the word tone. That takes all of the tone controls back, and auto actually affects presence as well. So I'm going to double click on that, and we're back to where we started. I might just add just a little bit more warmth, but not too much, otherwise the blue in the sky will be lost forever. That's basically all I want to do, except I'm going to take down the highlights because you can see that it'll bring back in some information to the sky. I could try whites, but it changes a lot on her, so I don't really think I want to do that. You don't want to change anything in texture, clarity, or dehaze. Dehaze, you might want to add a vignette with the ellipse tool later, and you can make the grass go softer on the outside if you really wanted to, but we're not going to. Vibrance and saturation, you could try a little bit more vibrance to make it more colored, and that'll be fine. Saturation, it's already got more than enough. Color, surprisingly, we can find out where the reds are, and so that's in the skin tones. We don't want to make it darker, we'll make it just a little bit lighter. Saturation, we might even be able to take it down a little bit. And oranges, there's going to be a lot of oranges, that's mostly in the skin tones. We don't want to make it darker, we might make it just a little bit lighter. Yellows, surprisingly, it's probably in the grass. The grass looks like it should be green, but in fact with all the sun, it actually goes to a yellow color. So that's why with the slider I can make it lighter or darker, and I'm going to actually change the hue angle a little bit more green, make it a little bit more fresh. And that's all there is to it. As far as aqua, blue, purple, there's not much, because in the sky the values that are in the image up here, they're actually too light to take into account that there is much color, so we can't do anything there. Tone curve, we're not going to do anything. Split toning, we could add in the slightest little bit of warmth, even more warmth, but just into the shadows. So we're going to take it to there, and we're going to put the bias way over here. But in the highlights, we might take it up, put it over into the blues, add saturation until it starts to change the image. But you can see our skin is going to go quite magenta, so we don't want to add much back into the highlights. So we just take it to around there. That's all there is to this image. We're going to add a gradient to the sky. If you click, drag, and hold down Shift, it will constrain that to a perpendicular. And we're going to change the exposure to, so it's darker, take the highlights down a little bit more, and also even a little bit in the whites. But you can see that affects our face as well. So there are different ways to avoid that we change too much in the areas of the face, because this is for a model's picture. So we could take the brush and hold down Alt or hit the eraser, and we could actually brush out everything it's in the gradient, but this is the mask that was created down to around this point. So you can see that we could actually take that back out again. I can do it over our arm. That's one way of doing it. And the other way is to restrict it to a certain range of tones. So let's go to the range mask, go to Luminence, and let's have it only affect in the lightest of areas. So that's all there is to it, and we can see how it'll change in the trees in the top. That's good, and we're going to add a little bit of blueness to the sky, maybe even away or into the magentas as well, and that's perfect. Now, one last little thing, we're going to add an ellipse. Now we could do this with just vignette, but we can also do it this way. So I'm going to change the exposure so it goes darker, and you say, that's not what I want. That's because we have inverted checked. So we're going to do it the other way, change the softening, and make it a little bit bigger so it goes out that way. So that's one way of doing a vignette. The other way, so let's delete the pin, it's still selected, poof. The other way, of course, is to go down into your very last settings. I'll turn that off and go into effects, and you can change a vignette this way. So this is a global change, and when you do it locally you can actually adjust the size of the ellipse and the angle and whatnot, whereas this is just a global thing. You can still set midpoints, so you can change it so it's more round. Where the midpoints start, you can feather it as well if you really wanted to. If we did go back to this, remember I said we'll make another one, except this time we're going to change that to dehaze, and we're going to see it looks like, but again we're dehazing on the inverted ellipse. And see if we just soften up a little bit around there. Let's take the exposure down, and let's take sharpness down on that. Let's increase the noise. Looks great. If we change anything else, it might be to look a little bit larger. I'm using navigation with the little square when it's at 1:1 reproduction. And I'm going to change the exposure up a little bit, maybe up a little bit in just around the face or so. Command 0, take it back to fit. We can add a new one. Just lighten up in there. Trace around where the light actually existed. Quick and easy. It's a nice way to make an image live just a little bit better. I'll take you back and show you the original, which is a copy, but the copy has no adjustments. That's straight out of camera, and here is what we just did. So emphasize a little bit more on the model, add some nice colors, and we're done. Thanks a lot for joining us. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, tell me why. Please subscribe, and if you hit the notification button, then you'll have all the latest updates. Thanks, take care, see you soon, bye.